College Corner.
I haven't felt this hot since I started dating the popular girl my junior year of high school. It's College Corner week 10. We had a sweep last week, 8-1 over the last 3 weeks. And once again, we have 3 picks for you here. If you are trying to remember what this is basically just me looking at the Dimers models best bets for college football every single week, tracking it with my own personal card that I've looked at before looking at the Dimers model, finding what ones overlap, and then seeing what happens. And so far, what has happened, it's been really good results. 3 of them this week. We start in the Big Ten, my favorite conference, where the model loves Nebraska plus 6.5. Nebraska in Lincoln, night game, prime time, 7:30 p.m. against USC. Both these teams have prolific offenses. Dylan Raiola is one of the best arm talents in the sport. USC is a team that wants to score with anybody. I think both these teams, game script-wise, have kind of become comfortable playing shootouts and exchanging blow for blow. Our model also is looking at the over for this game. I thought about leaning with the over. That's just a lean for me. An official play, though, is Nebraska plus 6.5. And look, Nebraska has played a million one-score games, it seems like. Outside of the dud against Minnesota, they've almost always had a game that comes down to the final possession one way or the other. They have struggled against high major opponents to cover the spread. In fact, this year, Nebraska has not covered the spread, I don't believe, other than once against a high major opponent. It's just not gone their way. We're due for some regression there. I don't think they're going to go 1-11 against the spread. USC, I think, is the right time to strike here because throughout the last 2 years here, Lincoln Riley, when he has to go to traditional Big Ten programs, a 3-hour flight across the country, it's been night and day. He almost always covers at home. He almost always fails to cover on the road. I was shocked when I saw this number, a night game where Lincoln is going to be jumping for Nebraska. I think this is a shootout. I think it comes down to the final couple of plays, and I'll take 6.5 points with a team that I think can score just as much as USC can. For our next 2 plays this week, we're going to turn to the ACC, and our next play up is Syracuse minus 2.5. Syracuse this week is taking on North Carolina, Bill Belichick's own. We get to fade the greatest coach in NFL history, but man, it's been, if you haven't been paying attention, it's been a disaster of a season for North Carolina. This team looked dead as little as 2 weeks ago. They appear to be playing slightly competitive football now, but I think it's a little bit misleading. Last week, they were against Virginia, who's the 16th ranked team in the country. They lose by only 1 point. They've now covered the spread in back-to-back weeks after a close game at Cal as well. This is still the same football team that has gotten blitzed against some decent teams in Clemson and TCU and UCF earlier this year. Now they're on the road against a Syracuse team that, don't get me wrong, looks dead. But this is also a Syracuse team that when they've sniffed out some struggling football teams has thrown a good punch. You think back to earlier this year when they kind of shocked Clemson and Clemson was really reeling in a way nobody knew about, a 2-score win. This is a Syracuse team that hung 66 on a horrible defense in Colgate in the non-conference. You get Syracuse at home, key football number, just needs to win by a field goal. Basically any major conference football team against Bill Belichick's North Carolina program to win by 3 at home. I think it's one of the only times we're ever going to get a line like that. And I think it's a good time to sniff a bounce back performance from Syracuse here. Last pick of the week here, it is Wake Forest plus 8.5. Now, Wake Forest has one of my favorite coaches in all of college football. Jake Dickert is a guy used to be at Washington State and has jumped up to the ACC. And he is turning things around without people really realizing it. This year, Wake Forest is sitting at 5-2. They can clinch bowl eligibility with a win in this game. They've won 3 straight. They've looked the part. They beat SMU last week in just a grimy football game. Only 25 points scored in that game. But you think even to this team's losses, they haven't lost by more than 10 points this year. Had a really good loss by 1 point to Georgia Tech, who looks like the team to beat, 8-0 in the ACC now. I would argue Wake Forest played them tougher than anybody. Florida State's not playing anybody tougher than anybody right now. This Florida State team has lost 4 consecutive games. Since they upset Alabama at the beginning of the season, they've now lost to Virginia and given up 46 points in the process, lost to Miami, lost to Pitt, lost to a Stanford team that really has been in disarray all season long. Catching more than a touchdown with Wake Forest. They've won 3 straight against a Florida State team that I really think has kind of quit on the season. It's probably my favorite number of the week. Lock it in for the third play of our 3: Nebraska plus 6.5, Syracuse minus 2.5, and Wake Forest plus 8.5 are our 3 plays this week. And by the way, the Dimers model agrees with me. The highest probability outcome here of these 3 is that Wake Forest plus 8.5. If I had to make one play the play of the week, it would be the Demon Deacons.
Awesome, Greg. I love it. I've been secretly hoping all season we would get at least one game with a Bill Belichick offense in it for you to talk about. And I like it. And it's on Halloween. Come on, that can't go right for Bill Belichick, right? I mean, I feel like the costumes by the Syracuse fans are going to be pretty provocative in the sense of trying to get a rise out of him. And we know he's stone cold and won't be fazed by that. But I just don't see things going well for Bill Belichick in his current situation on Halloween. All Hallows Eve seems like a nightmare.
Maybe for Halloween, Bill Belichick could go as a coach who still gives a shit. That'd be a nice costume for him because that's not what he's been. I'm very excited about that. That is fun too. You get the Friday night game, one on Friday, 2 on Saturday for us this week. So, hey, do me a favor, please, if you're listening to this, if you've made some money betting College Corner with us, make sure you support the show. Throw us a like, subscribe to the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast that you get every single episode of this. 2 episodes a week. We do College Corner every week on Tuesday. Every subscription, every like, every comment helps us as we continue to grow this show and try and make you some money